Tonight we are tracking 3 tropical systems, one of which could affect us here in Missouri. I'll have the details coming up.
Roars onto shore along the Gulf Coast. Will the dark memories of Hurricane Katrina be repeated, and how Missouri is responding?
As Gustav batters the coast, Katrina evacuees now living in mid-Missouri watch as their old home does it all over again.
Now, the big storm drastically changed the lineup at the Republican National Convention today and this week. KOMU 8 News at 10 starts right now.
You're watching KOMU 8 News, your first and only local news in HD.
Just 3 years after Hurricane Katrina changed the lives forever in New Orleans for tens of thousands of people, a strong storm batters the city and the region again. Good evening, I am Sarah French in for Jim.
And I'm Angie Bailey. Thanks for joining us. Hurricane Gustav, which has now been downgraded to a tropical storm, slammed into the Louisiana coast with 110-mile-an-hour winds today, but it quickly weakened as it moved over land, raising hopes New Orleans would escape the devastating flooding brought on by Katrina 3 years ago. NBC's Jay Gray has the latest from New Orleans.
Jay Gray, NBC News, New Orleans.
Well, Governor Matt Blunt called on 700 Missouri National Guard troops to help hurricane victims along Louisiana's Gulf Coast. The troops will join the 600 soldiers the governor mobilized ahead of Gustav's landfall on Monday morning. And linemen from Boone Electric are headed down to Louisiana in the morning. The crews will replace broken electrical poles and restring power lines in the wake of Gustav. KOMU 8 News is following both the National Guard and the Boone Electric crew as they help the victims of Gustav. We'll bring you those reports in the coming days.
And mid-Missourians are pitching in right here to help as well. The American Red Cross opened its doors today to 13 evacuees from Louisiana. This afternoon, Calvary Baptist Church lent its activity building to the Red Cross as an official emergency shelter for those fleeing the Gulf Coast. The Red Cross stocked hundreds of bottles of water and Gatorade, along with comfort kits donated by Target containing toiletries. Sandwiches and ices filled the refrigerators. More food is on the way. Yesterday, Columbia Shelter stood down when government charter buses loaded with evacuees were directed elsewhere. But at noon today, this one was activated. The Salvation Army is already ready to help out. Major K. Kendall Matthews of the Salvation Army took time from his holiday to personally help 3 evacuees looking for a place to live. Matthews worked with the Salvation Army in Detroit during Katrina. Today, he bought the trio fast food and put them at the Salvation Army's Red Chilled Shelter. The Salvation Army works with the Red Cross to help people displaced by the hurricane. Major Matthews says the Salvation Army staff is available anytime for spiritual help or guidance. Now, if you want to help, you can call 211 or log on to our website, KOMU.com. Now, the images of Hurricane Katrina are etched in the national psyche.
Sure are, and with Gustav's landfall, some individual memories are resurrected. KOMU 8's Dominique Ricks scoured Missouri and found a Colombian who was all too close to Hurricane Katrina. Now, Turner's family did make it out of New Orleans safety back then, and she never returned. Turner is now a senior at the University of Missouri.
All right, now we're going to take a quick look at weather. Mike, what do you have for us?
Well, guys, we continue to track Tropical Storm Gustav at this hour. Winds are down to 60 miles per hour. As you can see here, lots of rain for Louisiana and moving towards the north. Notice it is moving towards the north. All of that's going to make it here as we get into the mid portion of the week. Lots of rain for us. We're also tracking Hurricane Hannah in the western Atlantic and also another tropical storm. We'll talk a little bit more about that and explain where those are headed coming up in just a few minutes.
Okay, thanks, Mike.
Well, presidential candidates John McCain and Barack Obama were both focusing on Hurricane Gustav today as well.
John McCain was in Ohio thanking volunteers who were packing supplies for hurricane victims. McCain says his thoughts and prayers are with the hurricane victims. Meanwhile, Barack Obama canceled a political speech today in Detroit as he focused on Gustav. He talked about the hurricane to thousands of people at one of the city's riverfront gathering places. He urged supporters to pray for those being affected and to donate to relief agencies. The Republican National Convention got underway in St. Paul, Minnesota today, but not as planned. Organizers canceled several events for the day because of the storm, and President Bush and Vice President Cheney did not attend. They were scheduled to speak tonight, but instead are focusing on helping the victims of Gustav. John McCain says right now everyone must act as Americans and not just as Republicans. Protesters were still quite active on the streets of St. Paul today, though. Police estimated some 10,000 people marched in St. Paul, and everyone had their own agenda. Immigrants, labor groups, veterans, student groups, and others participated. Several people were arrested earlier this weekend after police conducted home searches of anarchist groups. Missouri Task Force 1 headed north yesterday to help out with security this week. Several Columbians were without their cars tonight after they went up in flames last night.
1 minute away, where and what police are saying a day later.
And Labor Day is usually the beginning of the end of the summer-like business, but many lake businesses are wishing it would keep on going. Not for good reasons, though. We'll explain. KOMU 8 News at 10. We'll be back in a moment.